What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Jacob Wall Fishing. Out here on the boat today, I'm doing a little bit of a recap video for you guys on the Potomac River. It was our fifth stop of the MLF Pro Circuit, and it happened like 3 weeks ago now. It's been a while. Haven't gotten to the footage yet. I've edited it up a little bit of it, but I haven't edited up a lot. So I'm going to sit down today. I'm going to talk to you guys about what I did, kind of what my thought process was, and how I developed my pattern as the tournament progressed. So without further ado, guys, let's get right into it. So, practice. I pretty much tried everything that, I had heard that could be good up there just based on reading things and looking at information online. I tried fishing, mid-range, kind of offshore grass that was in that, 4 to 8 foot range. And I caught some fish out there doing that in practice, but I really didn't find anything patternable. I didn't find any areas that I was really excited to try to fish in the tournament. I caught one fish here, one fish there, and it just seemed very sporadic for me. So I didn't really want to rely on something that I didn't feel comfortable that I could go to an area and sit down and work it and get more than a few, 1 or 2 bites. So I ended up really keying in on a bite, throwing a frog in practice. I was throwing a popping frog. I was fishing it around anything up on the bank, whether it be a lay down trees, overhanging like shade lines, whether it be scummy little mats or just like some isolated grass that was in an area. But that's pretty much what I got bit on, the most, and the quality was decent. The quality was solid. I was catching on average, 2 to 3.5 pound fish. So the right quality fish, and I knew that I had the potential to get a big bite doing it too. So that's kind of what I went into the first day of the tournament. My mindset was like, hey, I've got this frog bite going. I'm just going to run it. I felt like I could go out there and get 8 to 12 bites. And if I put, 7 or 8 of those in the boat, I felt like I'd have a decent bag. Did not know what to expect going into the tournament. I didn't know if I would come in with 10 pounds, 12 pounds. I was hoping my goal was basically 12 to 16 pounds, or 13 to 16 pounds was kind of my goal. I ended up coming in the first day with 14 pounds. So I was really satisfied with it. The weights were a lot higher and more stacked than I had anticipated. I thought I'd be way higher up the standings than I was with that 14 pounds. I think I was in 40 something place, 45th place going into day 2. So going out day 2, I had the same idea. I thought, man, I got the first day of the tournament, I had about 20 blowups on a frog. It was awesome. I caught a bunch. I think I caught 10 or 12 keepers maybe on the frog. And that was kind of my deal, was just going into the second day. I was like, man, I'm just going to run with it. I'm getting bit on the frog. I was kind of able to run around and hit some new water and catch fish. And so I was like, all right, I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to run new water. I'm just going to keep with that frog with a few other rods on the deck. The chatterbait was out with the Komodo on there. I had some other stuff I got bit on practice on, but I didn't really do much in the tournament on it. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to go throw the frog again. So I went out there with that mindset, and I got into an area. I stayed in Metanium Creek, super close to the takeoff. I really didn't want to get too far away from where we launched. I wanted to be able to sit down. I wanted to be able to just put my head down and work the area and fish. I made about a 2 or 3 minute run in the morning, both mornings. So I rolled over to my primary area, a little stretch in Metanium Creek where I'd gotten the most bites the first day of the tournament. And I rolled through it again, and I didn't know if these fish would replenish. My thought process was the tide moving up and down, these fish would push to the bank and move out, push to the bank and move out. And so I figured new fish would be filtering through these areas, because I know, I spent a lot of time on the California Delta, and I know the California Delta, the fish move around a lot. And so I assume the fish did the same thing on the Potomac, which I think they do, but I don't think that they were replenishing in that area as much as I thought they might. So I went back through that stretch, and I caught 2 fish that second day in the morning on a frog. But I had those 2 fish in the boat by about the same time I had a limit the day before. So I didn't really know what the potential of the frog was. I had a few fish that missed it, that just weren't getting it. They were biting it a little funny that day. And so I went down a stretch where I'd got bit on the frog previously the day before, but I kind of left a bunch of water ahead of me in order to fish it on day 2. And I start going down the stretch, and the tide was kind of wrong. And I thought, man, I'm hitting this stuff off timing. I need to be, really paying attention to the tide more. And I'm just getting kind of ahead of myself and trying to run these areas before they're good. And so as I'm going down that bank, I'm like doubting my decision to go over there because the water wasn't right to throw the frog. There wasn't enough water up on the bank. The tide was too low, and a lot of the grass I was fishing was just too shallow. And so I started to doubt myself. And then I looked at, there was a laydown tree And under the laydown tree was pretty open. There was like kind of a sandbar up in this area, and there was some grass out where the boat was, and then there was this laydown that kind of poked out to the grass, but then underneath it was pretty open. So I thought, man, there's current rolling by here because the tide was just now coming in, and I was like, man, there's current rolling by here. Maybe they'll eat this stick bait. So I picked up this Phenix K2 here. This is a 7'1" medium heavy. I picked up this rod, got 20-pound line on here, on like, I think this is an 8-1-1. Yeah, this is a fast gear ratio reel, and I had just a stick bait on a Texas rig with this round bend hook on there, 4/0 round bend. And I pitch it to that laydown, and I swear, I think it was my second or third cast. I pick up, my line gets tight, and I reel down and set the hook and catch a good keeper. Put that one in the well, and I work up a little further, and there's another laydown tree. Pitch over to it, pitch over to it, pitch over to it. Finally, I pitch over there, and I'm looking at it, and I look in there, and I go, my Marshall was in the back. It was the only day I had a Marshall, was on day 2. And I say to him, I go, I think there's a fish right there. And I twitch my stick bait once, and that fish goes, eats that thing, and I reel down and stick it. It was a good one. It was like between 2 3/4 and 3 pounds. So that was my 4th fish at the time. I work up to the very next laydown, and I catch another one off of it. And I put in the well, and I have a limit. So that was a huge momentum, shift, picking up that stick bait, and in exchange for the frog. I mean, I hadn't done it all week. I hadn't done this with the stick bait. I had been flipping a jig a little bit and a Texas rig a little bit in practice, had a very minor success. So I really felt like I had figured something out. I caught those fish really fast. Probably in 15 minutes I had that limit, filled that limit. So I worked up to the next tree. This was the last tree on this bank, and I pitch over to it, and I catch another one that culls. So I kind of ran with that pattern the rest of the day. I ended up catching a couple more culls doing that, and I think I weighed 4 of my fish. I think it was either I weighed 3 or 4 of my fish on that stick bait that day. But if I hadn't picked that up, I would definitely not have made it to day 3. I made it into the cut. I was in the 40s, and so we had a lot of room to grow. I think I was in like 48th place or something going in. And so I didn't really have a whole lot of room to fall. I didn't have a whole lot of room to, go lower. So I figured, hey, I'm going to go swing for the fences on day 3. I'm going to pick up that frog. Plan was to go out there. Plan was to fish all new water. I had a few areas in mind, and I was just going to go run that frog pattern and fish everything that looked good. So I spent the first part of the morning that 3rd day. I think I was out until like about 9:30 fishing new water, and I only had a few bites, and I missed them. I didn't even have a fish in the well. And so I decided, hey, I'm going to go back to what I know. I need to go try to catch a limit. At least if I catch a limit, I might climb up 1 or 2 spots and salvage a couple of points out of the day. And so I went back into Metanium Creek, where I had done most of my damage. I had caught a few fish in Belmont Bay as well. There was some shallow cover I found in there, and I caught I think 1 or 2 keepers. I think I caught 1 the first day that I weighed out of there, and 1 the second day I weighed out of there. But everything else was pretty much in Metanium Creek. So I go back to Metanium Creek, and I start throwing the frog around, nothing. So I pick up the stick bait, and I start pitching this guy around, and I start catching fish pretty quick. I pull into an area where I'd caught him on the frog, and I fire it out there, and I'm working it on the outside of this area where I had seen some fish spook. And I noticed the fish were not up in the stuff on the bank as far. They were more on the outside edges. So I started throwing the stick bait out on the outside edge, and I picked up a couple of really nice fish, 3-pounders, pretty quick doing that. So I had two solid keepers in the boat. I knew at that point, like, hey, if I catch 3 more fish like this, I'm going to move really far up the standings. And so I rolled around to some new areas, didn't get a bite for a while, and then I pulled up on a stretch, and I started pitching that stick bait around some more, and I catch a small one that was like 1 3/4, throw it in the well. Go down a little further, catch a 1 1/2, throw it in the well. Go down a little further, catch another 2 something, throw it in the well, fill a limit. I was ecstatic. That was all I really wanted to do, was just catch a limit that 3rd day. Hopefully, sustain my points where I was at, if not move up a little bit. So I was really happy, but I knew, hey, I've got an opportunity now. I've got a limit. I have plenty of time. I can work this area. I'm starting to get bit pretty regularly. Maybe I can stumble into 2 or 3 good ones and catch that weight that I need to move way up the standings. So I roll around a little bit further. I hook one up on a frog, pull it off. I was like, dang it. Roll over to this little point of grass, or it was actually like pencil reeds. Roll over there, fire that stick bait up in there, hook another good one, lose it. So I was like, oh my gosh, what in the heck's going on? So I pull back over to that area where I'd been catching my frogfish in this little pocket where I'd caught the first 2 of that day on the stick bait. I pull over there and I fire back out there where I'd caught those 2 3-pounders, and I catch another one, and it helps. It's like a 1.75, so it culls me up by like a 1/4 pound. So then I'm like, all right, well, that wasn't much of a cull, but I got, an okay bag of fish. So I the night before, I looked on Google Maps in Metanium Creek at stuff that looked similar to where I'd been catching them. I looked for laydown trees on the bank. I looked for all that structure. There was this island out in the middle, and it had nice laydowns on one side of it. So I thought, I'm gonna go run that island. It was pretty late in the day. The tide was up. There was a lot of water around those trees. So I went over there and I started pitching that stick bait around all the structure. Didn't seem right for the frog. There was really no matted out stuff. It was really high sun. There was hardly any shade. And so I felt like the stick bait was my best chance to get a bite. So I was pitching this guy around, and I catch one. It helps me by a little bit. I go around a little bit more and I pitch to a tree and I hook another one and I lose it. I don't know what was going on. I don't know why I was losing them. They were swimming so fast because this water was so shallow where I was hooking these fish. And then I roll around the other side of this island. There's this little shady spot behind this like stump thing. And I thought to myself, there's a bass under that thing. There's a bass right behind that in that little spot of shade. It was teeny, the spot of shade's this wide by like this wide, but there's a stump and it was right on the back side of it. And I thought that's a perfect spot for a bass to ambush something. So I pitched that stick bait back in there and I'm letting line out. And mind you, this is like this much water. There's like no water at all. And I could see the bottom, it was gin clear. So I'm twitch that worm in there once and it goes donk and starts getting tight. And I reel down and stick a solid like 2 1/4 out of there. Helps me by a bunch. It might've been a 2 1/2. It was a solid upgrade. And that put me at enough weight to solidify 45th place for that tournament. And pretty much the 1-2 punch, I had these 2 rods. I've been playing around lately with this K2. This is a 7'3" heavy K2. I've been playing around lately with that for a frog. But basically my setup was a fast gear ratio reel. I think I was throwing a Curado that was like a 7/4-1, but I was throwing 65-pound Phenix Hydra braid, and I was throwing a frog, and that's what I caught all my fish on. I was actually throwing the 7'3" extra heavy Feather in the tournament, which is a stellar frog rod. I'm just playing around with this one as of lately out here on Gunnersville. But this is the exact setup that I caught all my stick bait fish on. This is a 7'1" medium heavy, as I said earlier. 20-pound fluorocarbon line on there. I believe that this is Sunline, FC. I'm not affiliated with those guys, but that's just what that is. And then I was using a 4/0 round bend. This is Gamakatsu. Once again, not affiliated, but that's what it was. And yeah, this is a fast gear ratio reel, 8-something-to-1. I was trying to catch up a lot of line on those shallow fish, and this seemed to work really well. This is a Metanium, worked good, picked up line really quick. It's got a nice wide handle on it. And I like the 20-pound test because I was fishing so shallow and around heavy cover, and it was stout hook sets, really jarring, and so you want that heavy line. The fish didn't seem to care when they went for it. They got it. They didn't seem to pay attention to the line at all. So that was my deal there. Those were pretty much the rods I did they were the rods I did all the damage with. I didn't weigh anything else on anything besides a stick bait and a frog. But yeah, my mindset for the week was pretty much just to do what I felt comfortable doing. I love fishing shallow. I love fishing clear water. I love being able to see the bottom, and it intimidates a lot of guys. I feel like there's a bunch of guys that get away from that because they can't see fish or because they feel like they're, I don't know. I don't want to make assumptions, but I don't see a lot of guys fishing that kind of stuff. And it's something that it's near and dear to me. I don't know if it's because I've grown up fishing ponds or if it's because I'm from the West Coast and a lot of the water out there is really clear, so I'm comfortable with it. But whatever the reason being, I love it, and that's what I did all week. I tried to stay in stuff that I felt comfortable in, and I picked baits that I felt that I could get bit on. It was tough fishing. It was not easy for me. When you found fish, they were pretty easy to catch, it seemed like, but at the same time, locating them was kind of difficult. I'd never been to the Potomac before, and the tide is a big deal out there, being able to understand when to fish certain spots. So I just kind of stuck with what was comfortable to me, and I made it work, and I had a good finish. We made a check, got good points. We moved up from, I think I was 41st in the points going into that event. We moved up to 30th place, so I'm sitting 30th right now with 1 tournament left. In a few days, 3 days, headed up to the St. Lawrence River for the final event. I'm super excited to get up there. The elite guys are just there. Taku Idu won. I think he had 90-something pounds for 4 days. So, I mean, that speaks, for itself. Killer fishing. I wouldn't be surprised if it takes more for our tournament just because we've got more guys, and I think somebody's going to get on them. And I truly think that the elite guys hit it at immediate post-spawn time. And I feel like between now and then, or between the end of their event and our event, the fish are going to put on some weight. I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit heavier weight to win, but either way, it's going to be really fun. Super excited to get up there. I would love to make a top 10. I still haven't made a top 10 in the 3 years I've been out doing this. Been super close a few times. You know, I got 12th at Harris last year. I got 14th at Martin. Smith Lake this year I was really close. I just had a bad day 3. But yeah, I mean, it was, you know, it'd be great to go up there and make that top 10. That's the goal. Make a top 10, final event of the season. You know, lock myself in for that championship, which is going to be on La Crosse, Wisconsin, actually a couple weeks after this final event on the St. Lawrence. That's going to be out of La Crosse on the Mississippi. So I'm excited, hopefully, to qualify for that. We're in it right now. We need to stay in that top 50 to make that championship. So I just wanted to say, you know, I appreciate everybody. I appreciate all you guys watching. If you're not already, subscribe to the channel and like this video. Share it with your buddies. And yeah, expect more content from me, guys. I got a bunch of good content from Guntersville lately, doing some punching, doing some frogging. And if you guys are sitting around watching this video, I highly recommend coming up shortly. I know it's not out yet, but Andrew Nordby and I went fishing the other day. Fishing with Nordby on YouTube. Check it out. He's going to be putting up a video. I took a hook through the ear from a bull shad. I think that bait's, yeah, it's right here. I took that hook through the ear. I mean, that's not a big bull shad. It's a 5-inch bull shad. Sorry, Andrew, it's on the boat. It's not hanging on the wall. I'm fishing it. We actually did a competition that day. Who could catch the best 2 fish? I'll just tell you. We wagered baits, and I have his bait. So you guys know what that means. You got to watch that video when it comes out. I caught a big one. And it was after I took the hook through my ear. All the way through the ear. He had to cut it and take it out. So you guys should watch that when Andrew puts that video up. Should be here, I would assume, in the next week, maybe 2 weeks. And then Mikey Balls, guys, go over there, check out his channel. He's going to be putting up a video. We did some frogging, some epic frog action. We caught a ton of fish on a frog. We didn't catch any real big ones, but if you guys just want some explosive topwater action, you guys have got to check out Mikey's video. He's going to be putting up here in the next probably a couple weeks as well. That's all frogging out on Guntersville. We caught some punching fish too. So you guys check that out, as well as, you know, stay tuned on my channel. Like I said, I got a bunch of content I need to sift through and edit up. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and stay fishy and tight lines, guys. Have a good one.